At the crack of dawn, we're cooking it, brewing it, grilling it, flipping it. McDonald's fires up the griddle every morning so you can start digging into it and enjoying it. And mix and matching it with 2 breakfast sandwiches for $4. Egg McMuffin, sausage McMuffin with egg, or bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddles. Your choice, just $4. Add a small McCafe frappe for $2 more. Make your morning routine a little better. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Blog Talk Radio.
What's going on, good people? It's your boy Clint from the GFT Radio Show. We live. Got my boy Willie on the line.
What up, though? It's your boy Willie Styles. What's going on, people?
Y'all already know what it is. We got a great show lined up for y'all tonight. We're going to be talking about the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Want y'all to join the conversation. We'll be taking phone calls at 10:15. The phone number is 657-383-1155. Willie, you got the Teespring website?
That's teespring.com/store/GFT Radio. Make sure y'all check out the store. Make sure y'all check out all the merch. Pick up some T-shirts. Pick up your long sleeve tees. I think we got some hoodies out there now. Got a little bit of everything.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Support us. We appreciate all the support we have already received. You know what I mean? Our views are up. We love the feedback we're getting, and we're going to keep pushing along. If you're listening to us right now, we're on www.blogtalkradio.com/GFT Radio Show. Y'all know y'all can check us out. If y'all can't catch us live on the replays, on blogtalkradio.com, on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play Music. Where else we at?
Your favorite automated speakers like the Google Play or the Google Home rather, or the Alexa. So make sure y'all ask Google to play GFT Radio Show.
Definitely. I feel like there's something else I'm missing.
What are you missing?
I don't know.
I don't know. He did a pretty good job.
We're missing.
I'm highly impressed. Round of applause.
We're missing you. Funny.
Did you miss the date? Did you say the date?
Listen, they don't know what date it is. They gotta get their life together.
Oh my goodness! But you are missing the most important person, which is me. So I do agree. I was having technical difficulties with my direct connect, so I had to call in. So.
Oh, okay.
So much
anything else you
right?
want to add? Anything else you want to add before we get into the topic?
No, I'm just. We might as well jump right into the topic.
Okay. How did we come up with this topic? I think we was having a conversation last week and it came up.
Yeah. I forget what the conversation and how it led up to it. We were talking about what the hell was we talking about last week?
I think Stokely Carmichael. Somebody mentioned Stokely Carmichael.
Yeah.
And I actually got him confused. Yeah, I actually got him confused with Eldridge Cleaver. That's the name I was trying to think of last week. Eldridge Cleaver. Because when we talked about Stokely Carmichael, and I made the mistake of saying, wasn't he the one that got one of the and
I think
in all actuality it was Eldridge Cleaver, Bobby Hutton. Yeah, I got they call, I guess some of the Panthers, blame Eldridge for the death of Bobby Hutton. Yeah, little Bobby. He was 17 years old. It was not too long after Martin Luther King had got murdered. I believe they were like in a basement police got a phone call. They were in the basement. They had guns or whatever.
Was that the one where they went up in the house and shot people that were in the bed and they found out that they were actually laying down?
No, that's actually Fred Hampton.
Sure it wasn't the Black Panthers that happened to?
That's the Black Panthers, but that's somebody else. That's Fred Hampton. That's
okay.
That wasn't
and I know
Bobby Hutton.
Somebody that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bobby Hutton. He the one that when they threw in tear gas or something in the basement in the other house, it caught fire, And, Eldridge Cleaver, he told Bobby Hutton, take off all your clothes and go out with your hands up. But little Bobby Hutton didn't. He just took off his shirt, and he was the first one out. And when he went out, the police shot him. Killed him. Right. Basically executed him. And he had no weapon on him.
Right.
Yeah, but I know we started talking about that, and I had said that would be like a great show topic because a lot of people don't know like what the Black Panther Party did. A lot of them I heard about the Black Panthers growing up like that, but like everybody goes to like the militant part where they was just about they always seen the black people with the Black Panther uniform that they had. Like, it wasn't really a uniform, but that was their overall look and how they the stuff when you see them with the guns like that. Like a lot of people think of that type of thing and miss all the actual good they did. So.
Right. That's true. That's true.
A lot of people get caught up on that negative, we this, but you forgetting that they did so much more. So.
Let's since we're talking about, let's actually start with who started the Black Panther Party, which is Huey P. Newton was the founder, and I guess you can say Bobby Seale was the co-founder. I was reading up on it. I was actually watching a great documentary for those listening to watch on the Black Panthers. It's called The Vanguards, the Black Panthers' Real Story, where they actually have real Black Panthers that was down back then. They have great footage, and it is spectacular. It's one of the best documentaries I've seen on them, and it breaks it down perfectly what the Black Panthers were about and why they were started. They were started because of the police brutality. Yeah. It was running rampant. It was at a rate. We think we see a lot of it now. If you look at the footage back then, it was much more brutal and much more open.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, there was definitely no repercussions and not even any attempts at trying, police officers or holding them accountable. So yeah, it was terrible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Still, one of the things. Go ahead, Sonny.
Yeah. No, and it's funny because I know you guys are more well versed than I am of the Black Panthers. Even though I know a little bit about them, I actually got to kind of reading because I went to a couple of different sites. One was I don't want to say the official Black Panther site, but it was one of those main sites where you get the history. You can get I didn't even know that there's a name prior to being called the Black Panthers. I didn't know how they came up with the name of the Black Panthers or the logo and stuff like that and everything. And I was just sitting there reading it for myself, and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know that. And I know one of the things that the one thing that I read that I kind of put up in the write up was about how they kind of when people think of the Black Panthers, they also align them with the Nation of Islam and some other the Black groups that were out there, but they wanted to I just assumed that they were just like the Nation of Islam, but a little bit of a difference, not much, but their whole thing was to be completely different from all of them.
Yeah, they were more like a political party.
Yeah.
Yeah, they more they were socialists. You feel me? They were against capitalism. America is a capitalist society, and they felt like capitalism was a way. It's a way to keep the poor and make the rich rich.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You feel me? So they really wasn't for that, and they was more and a lot of people think what I usually growing up, it's a lot of rhetoric, and you would think that the Black Panthers were anti-white.
That's another thing too.
They were super pro-black. And that really, they were pro-black and they preached black power, but, they incorporated everybody. You feel me?
Yeah.
Even in one of Bobby Seale's, one of his speeches, you feel me? He was like, it's a bald-faced lie y'all keep telling us y'all keep telling people that, I mean, we don't hate nobody because of the color of their skin. We just hate being oppressed and being butchered and murdered by the police. You feel me? They reached out to all different types of organizations from all different type backgrounds. You feel
Absolutely.
me? They were they were really.
Yeah, they actually had a branch called the in Japan. They had them all over. And in Japan, they called themselves the Yellow Panthers and stuff. Like, it was, like, they were, like, all over the globe. And, like, they basically wanted, for people that understood their, like, what the black people wanted, like, or what the Black Panthers wanted for the black people, they shared with like-minded individuals that wanted to be, like, to be, like, understood and wanted to help.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that...
I think Dame is on the line, y'all. Hold on.
Okay.
Hello?
Black Power.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, what's going on, guys and ladies?
Hey, what's going on, sir?
Living the
Yeah,
dream.
I was about to say. Yeah, so I was just about to say that, you know, I think the one thing that I think that stood out to me about Bobby Seale and Huey Newton is that they, you know, along with everybody else that they were in different groups with, you know, that they started off, like you said, in those Black Power organizations. They started off in some of the student groups. I think they were both at Merritt College, and they were, you know, studying different, or they were, you know, working with different organizations in neighborhoods, you know, trying to affect change. But when they were seeing, they were either dissatisfied with the way some of the organizations were working, or seeing the inability or the, you know, ineffective ways that they were operating, they decided to step out and do it on their own and create something that was more effective and more direct. You know, one thing about, you know, challenging the police brutality, pushing for communities programs, and really trying to you know, really trying to show the world what black people needed, and what not only black people, but what these communities needed, and these people in these like in Oakland, you know, showing them what they needed in order to survive, in order to be prosperous. And they really pushed for actual change. You know, nowadays, I mean, back then it probably happened too. You know, nowadays we don't see people really pushing for change. People want change, but people don't go out there and get it themselves, and they acted on the fact that they didn't see enough action, or they didn't see things going in the direction that they felt was most important, and they went out there and did it on their own. So I think that was another thing that was very commendable about the organization, or you know, the founding of the organization, and pushing forward to do something bigger than what the other organizations were doing, or different.
Yes, they had a food program. They had so much stuff.
Yeah, this is excuse me. I had just pulled up. They had a 10-point program that, you know, that's what it was centered around, and I just want to read it off real quick. 1, we want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our black communities. 2, we want full employment for our people. 3, we want an end to the robbery by the white man of our black community. 4, we want decent housing fit for shelter of human beings. 5, we want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in the present day society. 6, we want all black men to be exempt from military service. 7, we want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people. 8, we want freedom for all black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. 9, we want all black people, when brought to trial, to be tried in a court by a jury of their peer group or people from their black communities as defined by the Constitution of the United States. And 10, we want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. That was their 10-point program.
And that's not asking too much. That's exactly what we should be given those rights as people. Like, period. We shouldn't be paraded off like, you know, like it's just like nobody cares.
Yeah, but they can't make money off of us if we actually have those rights.
Exactly.
I mean, there's more money into for black men to be imprisoned and be hard under labor and to be on the welfare. You can't get any money or any power if we had that much power. Right.
That's what called the attention of power education. Their food program was doing better without the government, and that's why the FBI was like, whoa, wait a minute, they doing way more than we do, and that's when it was like, okay, because like you said, it's like what was it, the black, what was it? Oh my goodness, it left my brain. The one where they oh my goodness, the thing where they burned down their whole city.
Black Wall Street,
Oklahoma. Yeah, Black Wall Street. It's basically like that. Like, you see these black people doing well without your help and helping each other and actually making a difference. Like for real. Like, no BS. This is actually working for them. Like, they're doing it without the government or anybody's assistance, and they're helping not only them but other people. And they're doing better than what the government does. And then you dedicate a whole freaking thing just to take them down because they're getting too powerful. Like, that's what happens. They feel like if we get that's the thing. Like, as black people, if we really come together and really be about ourselves and do for ourselves without the help of any government or anybody, like, they would try to shut that shit down because it's too much like right. Like, it's like, oh man.
That's one of the main reasons why I want to have this conversation. It's because of that we can actually use the Black Panthers as a blueprint. But like you're saying, they gave us a blueprint, but even still, you know, it wasn't all COINTELPRO. Like, we know Hoover sent COINTELPRO to actually infiltrate and bring it down. But like I was saying about that documentary, which was so poignant, they was pointing out that, you know, one of the problems with the Black Panther Party was it grew so fast. Yeah. Like, it exploded so fast across the country that now there was no screening process. So it was like anybody and everybody was allowed in. Was being a part of it. Yeah. It wasn't even really gang members, because they thing was, you feel me? They were going after gang members, but they were really just going after anybody. Any black man or black woman they were just trying to get them in, not knowing, you feel me, their history or what type of other affiliations they have. And so then when you get those people in, you know, now you got one faction doing it one way and another faction doing it another way. You feel me? Like, they break it down. They break a sort of analogy at the beginning of the documentary. It's like these old men, all blind, walk up into an elephant, right? And you got one blind man, he's feeling the elephant's side, and he like, oh, this is a wall. It feels like a wall. Then you got another blind man, he's feeling the elephant's tusk, and he's like, this is like a sword or something. Then you got another blind man, he's feeling the elephant's trunk, and he's like, this feels like a snake. And he's like, that was the Black Panther Party. You feel me? Okay. Depending on who you ask, you feel me? Depending on who you ask, you get a different, you feel me, story. Especially outside of because, you know, it spread it. Yeah, it spread it all over the country. So, you know, and like one of the, you know, we talk about Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. You feel me? But Eldridge Cleaver, he was a big part of it too. You know, he was like a writer. He wrote the book, what's the name of it? Soul on Ice. And it was like a New York Times bestseller. And when he became affiliated with the Black Panther Party, it actually gave them like credence with intellectuals. You feel me? Who else wouldn't? They really wouldn't have messed with it because even though we know Huey, because I want to get into this too about Huey. Huey was intelligent. You feel me? He was he had a college degree, all of that. But Huey was a live wire. You feel me? They didn't know what to expect from, Huey. You know what I mean? It was like certain things they wanted Bobby Seale to handle because Huey could be a hothead at times. You feel me? And that's what we probably get into later. Will really cause the demise of the Black Panthers. You feel me? Not just because they were infiltrated by the COINTELPRO, is that when your leadership isn't strong, your organization will fold. Your organization will fold.
You can be easily compromised. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I like you said, I think that was definitely linked to the mass spreading, because even though they were highly recognized as the leadership and as the voice of the Panthers, they also had so many chapters out there kind of doing their own thing and making their own marks in their own communities that, there was still the problem of, people going outside of the tenets, right? I mean, if you look at the 10-point program, like you were mentioning, there was the what we want, and then there was the what we believe, right? And so, there was these different sides of the same struggle, but everybody had a voice in it, right? They didn't have to take all 10 pieces of the what we want now and try to deliver on it. They might have picked one or two, Unfortunately, a lot of the negativity came from the stance of protecting the communities and defending against brutality and murder of black people. They were pushing towards that in a way that made it seem like like a hostile group or a militant group, and people weren't paying attention to the fact that as a whole the organization was built upon community prosperity and black community finding their own way, and I think that a lot of the those disparities came from the fact that there was, I think there was organization that just wasn't strict organization. They didn't say, hey, you guys at this chapter aren't pushing all 10 of our tenets, or you're not highlighting the things that are most important in this whole grand scheme of things. You have to readjust or re-aim your efforts. They pretty much ran themselves, and I know that there was times when there was like you said, like the raids and things like that were happening. It was happening all over the country to different chapters for different reasons, right? And I think that was also again, the problem of the dispersed leadership.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost a mirror of the Black Lives Movement, which is going on. You know how it starts off as peaceful protests of what we want or what we need, but then you get those other radicals who take things a little bit too far. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like they want things so badly and they don't think they're getting it as quickly or as fair, as other groups will get their fair shake.
Yeah.
And there's other outside factors too. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I don't like about the painting of what the Black Lives Matter movement is and we probably need to get right back to the Black Panthers discussion, because we can circle back to this later, but it's the way it's painted is based on people just making mass assumptions. You know what I mean? And I have to wonder, especially with the fact that there wasn't social media, there wasn't really good media, mass media out there back then, is that the same thing probably happened to them, is that you get painted in a certain light, and you get deemed for things that you're not really trying to push, and you're not really trying to proliferate out there. So you got an organization that says, hey, we're standing on these tenets, and we're pushing for these changes in our social ecosystem, versus what the media says they're doing, or what rumors, rumor mills, or just because somebody says the word Black Lives Matter, oh, now they're part of the Black Lives Party, or they're part of the Black Lives Movement, and it has nothing to do with them. You know what I mean? I'm sure that there was people out there who said, I'm a Black Panther, and had no formal registration with the Black Panther Party, we're not a part of an official Black Panther chapter. You know what I mean? And that was the one thing, and I can't remember. Clint, you could probably speak to this better, but I remember there were rules and organizational requirements in order to be an official chapter of the Black Panther Party. So just because you wanted to be a Black Panther, you couldn't be like in the Black Lives Matter and just put hashtag Black Panther and you were a Black Panther. It didn't work that way. Even though it was open to everybody, there was still some organizational rules. There was charter requirements. There were requirements around it. So I think that just because you got Black people either speaking in militant tones, or speaking against the government, or speaking, out for Black community power, or Black community prosperity and Black power, they got lumped in. You know what I mean? They got lumped in.
Even Angela Davis, she wasn't really an official Black Panther. She spoke at a lot of their. She did a lot of lectures and talked to them and did like a lot of their was at a lot of their functions talking to the people, but she never was officially a part of the Black Panther, a part of the Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
Like she got
just because she had that beret.
Huh?
Not just because she was wearing a beret on a good day.
Yeah, but a lot of people believe that she was an official Black Panther. She really wasn't. She was just she had went and did a lot of speaking engagements. She went to a lot of their things that they had, like talking to the people like that, but she never really officially aligned herself with them. She was more doing her own thing. Like she was like-minded like them.
Yeah. It would with the piggyback off what Willie was saying. It was like, I just pulled it up myself. I had it earlier. It was 26 rules. I ain't gonna read through all of them right now. 8 points of attention, and 3 main rules of discipline in order to become a Black Panther, period, that you had to abide by. You know what I mean? So, like Willie said, like you just couldn't, okay, I'm a Black Panther. You know what I mean? It's no different from, like, even gangs have rules before you can get in. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing.
True.
You know what I mean? You just can't call yourself a Black Panther if you didn't abide by the rules, go through the proper channels. Even the chapters across the country, like they would have to call, they would have to call the main chapter, which was based in Oakland, to get approval to start.
Mm-hmm.
They just couldn't say, all right, we agreeing with them, we're a part of the Black Panther Party. Like, nah, it didn't work like that. Didn't work like that at all. But back to the part about the leadership, and that's why I kept bringing up Eldridge Cleaver and Huey P, because that's when, like we always talk about, I brought, like Sonny brought up earlier, COINTELPRO, the infiltration. But when everybody start doing their own thing, like when Huey got locked up, they went through the whole Free Huey. I guess we can get into that too. But they went to the whole Free Huey thing. And then when Huey came home, Huey wanted to get back to, the food programs and stuff like that in the community. Meanwhile, Eldridge, he done, after the thing with Bobby Hutton, he over living in Algeria or whatever, and he's making, like you said, like you brought up, Sonny, he was the one that was making those connections with the other countries.
Yeah.
Over there. Eldridge was making those connections. So, he had a following too. That people, looked at him as the leader. So that's where the conflict, he was more militant. He actually was more like, F the police, like draw guns. He was crazy. Eldridge was a little crazy. And Huey was too, but Huey's more so like, let's get back to what we started and how we started. You trying to turn us into something else. And then Eldridge was like, like, we're a food program party now? Like, what are we? You feel me? Like, we just handing out, that's what we do? And then that's where the party split. That's really what broke the party apart, because it broke into two different factions after that. Some was following Huey, some was following Eldridge. Mm. So now you don't have no common, no commonality no more. So just saying you a Black Panther really didn't mean it's like, all right, well, which you're a Black Panther, but who you following? Like, what are you really about? Instead of just everybody following the rules. That was one of the main reasons they fell apart. And then, Huey went batshit crazy as goddamn self. That's one part. Yeah. That's one part, like, growing up, I didn't hear that part about Huey. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear that. He ended up, he ended up getting murdered in, like, a drug deal going bad in, like, 89, I believe. Right.
Yeah.
But they was like, it got to one point to where, when the Black Panthers was really fledgling in the win towards the end, because I think they officially really ended like 82. He was extorting drug dealers. He was extorting drugs. That's really what got him killed too. But he was extorting drug dealers to keep the Panthers going. Like he himself started getting into little criminal activities, and people were saying, Huey was crazy. Now he was a street dude. He was highly intelligent and all that, but Huey was he was a street
from
dude.
The streets, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, and his name rang bells. So he was really extorting. He was extorting them dudes and getting money to fund it. And that's what basically ended up getting him killed, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
Like, the story of the Black Panthers, man, is deep. It's like, it's the classic case of, I guess what Dane was mentioning. Like, they don't really want to see us prosper. They don't want to, so they're going to do anything and everything to bring us down. And then we also have to deal with our own human errors, because we're not perfect. We can't expect Huey, Bobby, and all of them to be perfect themselves. We got to give them room for error as well. And then when they're being infiltrated with all the pressure, it's like, that's a lot to deal with.
That was going to There was so much going on. It was going to boil over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the big thing too is that the platform that they stood on and the points of their message and their efforts they were so noble, and they were so they hit home for people so closely that they were speaking for the people, and I think it's hard it's hard for people to think that these guys who showed incredible leadership at that time in the face of adversity, of going against the system, going against the police, and I don't remember. I can't remember if it was the movie adaptation that I was watching, or if it was one of the documentaries. But basically, what they were showing was that the way that they really touched the youth at the time, and being able to draw in so many different people all over the country and then all over the world, is that people couldn't believe that black men were in the streets with guns, telling the police what to do, telling the police what for.
Yeah.
So, going head up against the same police officer who were cracking heads in their neighborhoods, and they were standing up to those same police officers and saying, "No, we deserve better, and we need better out of these in our neighborhoods," and they were really doing it. You know what I mean? And no matter
that was definitely amazing too.
Yeah, and
how they
and I think
right.
Exactly, right, and that was the other thing. It's like, especially at a time.
That's what got me. How they did it. They read the law, and like they knew what they had to do. Like they did what they had to do.
They used the same laws that were protecting whites and wealthy people. Used that to make themselves immune to the prosecutions and the abuse of the law. So and I think that was the thing that. Right, and that was the thing that impressed so many people, is that they knew those laws, and they explained to people how to use those laws in the in the streets and in their communities, and be able to use those same laws to try to start to affect change. I mean, they knew there was other laws that needed to be created. They knew that there was things that needed to be changed. But unfortunately, like you said, Sonny, is that the government and certain local governments tried to start using laws against them in order to resuppress the movement. And and I think that's that speaks to what we were talking about, the effectiveness. What was the effectiveness of the party in the black community? And I think what it did affect, or what it did make an impact on, was people's ability to understand that even though we're trudged upon and stepped upon, we do still have rights, and we do still have there are some laws that are still out there to protect us, and there's a reason we have to be either in government or going against government or doing something to change government, because just laying down and allowing it to happen is not going to get us anywhere, and we're definitely not going to be nobody's going to look out for us unless we do it ourselves. And they showed that that effort, and showing that we have to do this for ourselves and make that effort to affect change. So I think that was the number one that, they weren't the first ones to do it, but they were more unique in their approach. There was a couple of groups that were doing similar things, but they took it to new levels in terms of how they were approaching it, and how public they were, and how they were approaching it, and being able to show the world, not just within their own community. It could have stopped in just Oakland. It could have just stopped right there in that neighborhood that they were in, but they pushed to make sure that the world saw them and understood what was going on. And unfortunately, it was cannibalized, and things were taken out of context, and but it was still effective. I think it was still effective.
Yeah, they had a lot of good programs. So they had, like, outside the food program, they were like doing health clinics. They were doing a lot of different things.
One thing.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Sonny. I just want to say, I'm gonna let you go. The one thing that we forgot to mention is that, in all actuality, we talk about the men, the women actually ran it.
Yeah.
You feel me? That's like towards the end, the woman was the actual, the heartbeat of the organization. You know what I mean? The women, even the men admitted, like, the women started. There were so many women. You had the faces of it, Bobby, Huey, or whatever, but the women was the main force that made that thing go.
Yes, yep, that's true. That's true. I was actually reading an article about the women, the women's impact, black women's impact on civil rights in general, and how. Unfortunately, a lot of it was suppressed. You know what I mean? A lot of it was overshadowed by the men. A lot of it was overshadowed by the efforts of a few. When it was a large group of women who really I mean, they made it a well-oiled machine, and they organized and they gathered people. I mean, in the Black Panther Party alone, I remember there was whole groups or parts of chapters where the women ran the show, you know, and they kept things in line. I can't remember which chapter it was, but I remember seeing in the documentary, and it was showing. I mean, it was like they were the security force. They, you know, some of the co-leaders of the chapter. They was doing their thing, and you know, and it was essential, I believe, that, you know, these women were involved because they were out there pushing the agenda. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just, you know, seeing Huey Newton and Bobby Seale out there. I mean, they were great, you know, leaders in their own rights. But, you know, the women that were right there, you know, not behind them, right beside them, and sometimes in front of them, you know, were the ones that were doing the work out there, doing the making it happen.
Yeah, I actually just looked it up because I was looking at about the women in the Black Panther, and it's crazy because you hear about other women, but this woman by the name of Joan Lewis was the first female to join the Black Panthers. She met Bobby and Huey at their college. She was 16, and she was an aspiring artist, and she met them, and she joined the Black Panther, and she rose through the ranks. But that, and it also shows about how, like, you know, like you guys said, they treated them as equals. They were, like, they didn't treat them less than because they were women, they treated them as equals. So that was, like, in a lot of organizations, you look at stuff like where Martin Luther King and stuff like that, or like Malcolm X and them, the men were like the front and center, and you know, the women were like just there. They helped, but they didn't. You know, they weren't like, I mean, Rosa Parks aside, but, you know, a lot of them weren't recognized. And there's a lot of women that helped with these movements, and to see something that, let alone a black movement that allowing women of color to have the same stature as everybody else and not push people to the side or, you know, just have a secretary's job. Like they were actually involved in all of it.
I was.
So I think that's what made a lot of women join because they were treated as equal.
Right. I was. I had forgot. Well, Willie mentioned something earlier about like how the Black Panther, they really wasn't the first to preach Black Power, and even in that documentary I was watching, they said, one of the guys said, and one of the ladies, I'm gonna talk about her in a second too. It was like. The Black Panthers wasn't the first to come out talking about black is beautiful and all of that. You feel me? Not at all. But what they did was black urban is beautiful. You know, that was like, I mean, like the back inner city. The lady I'm talking about, her, she was actually, she had a child by Fred. She was pregnant by Fred Hampton. She was in a room with him when he was murdered, and she was saying that, you know, normally a lot of these people, if you've seen them on the street, like, man, they ugly. They this and that and the third. But when they put on that Black Panther or when they became part of that party, it did something. It gave them a certain regalness. You feel me? And it gave them a certain amount of pride, an amount of beauty. You feel me? That the people, the brothers and the sisters in the inner city, they just didn't have. They didn't have it. But when that party, when the Black Panthers start, you know what I mean, going strong and everybody was doing it, you know, she was like, people who you would normally look over or look past, now you're looking at them as beautiful. You feel me? That does something to you. That does something for a community psychologically.
Yeah.
When you love yourself outside of, you know what I mean, you know, it's a little vain, but sometimes, you know,
no, it's needed.
We all like to say we look, yeah, you know what I mean. We all like to think we're beautiful in some way, and that's where, you feel me, they did for the inner city, especially there in Oakland. She was talking about. She was like, you know what I mean, like you'll see him without that party, I mean, he ugly. Or something like that. But when they became a part of that party, it's like, wow. She was like the sex appeal, just, you know what I mean? So you could, you know what I mean? That's deep rooted. You could tell, like, that movement was strong. That pride was strong. You feel me? Like Willie was saying, that's why it spread.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why it spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
I have a question because I wrote this in the write-up, and I really want to know what y'all think. As our United States is right now, if those Black Panthers, the leaders of the Black Panthers, and the people that were back then when they initially started and they were on the right path, all on the same page. If, as it stands right now in 2018, if all of them were currently still here and they had that party going on, how do you think 2018 will be different?
I mean, I when I saw what you wrote on that, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how, you know, over the years, we've recognized that we're lacking leadership, right? We're lacking either true togetherness in a vision, or at least, you know, some focus, right? And that, I think that started to change when the what they call it, when the Black Lives Matter movement got kind of started gaining some momentum, when Farrakhan opened up his Million Man March, the 20th I think it was the 20th anniversary. You know, some of that started to change around those years, and I think it was beginning, you know, the beginning of people realizing they needed to get behind something, because, you know, for 20, maybe 30 years, I think we've been kind of silent, and we've been kind of, not silent, but you know what I mean, we've been kind of without a voice, you know what I mean, not silent as a people, but silent in our leadership. You know, there's been people out there who've been great activists. You know, I'm not trying to take anything away from them. There's you know, amazing people who are out there, you know, doing strikes, doing protests, doing trying to fight in the political realm. You know, and that hasn't stopped, but I think that they haven't had the visibility, and they haven't had the numbers behind them to show some unity across the community, you know what I mean, across the community as a whole, and across this country. And so not until more people started to kind of get behind the Nation of Islam and say, hey, you know, what they're pushing and what they're talking about, thing that we want to be a part of, you know, and it took them to be more inclusive, right? You know, they not, you know, not that they've been totally exclusive, but they've been kind of in their own bubble, you know, for decades. And, you know, when they reached out to the rest of the Black community and said, look, there needs to be a change, we got to come up with something, you know, and they put that message out there that, you know, we had to take a stand as a community, right? And it motivated people, right? You know, I mean, I went down to DC and did the march. You know, it was energizing. You know, and a lot of the discussion points, basically, they were basically discussion points. You know, I mean, there was a disconnect for me personally, and I think a lot of people had went through this, where we were like, okay, you know, I think we kind of wanted to see, you know, something like all of a sudden another, you know, not Martin Luther King or Malcolm X kind of come out of it, but, you know, a bigger push as a whole come out of it. But I think what they did preach to us and what they did push to us was that in our communities, in our own single communities, regardless of religion and vision, we need to mobilize, and we needed to have structure to say, get into your communities and do something and affect change in your community, you know. And I think that was hugely important, you know, because of the fact that not everybody's going to want to follow the Nation of Islam because, they may not share the same religious values. They may not share, not values, I'm sorry, religious beliefs. Some may not follow the same agenda, because in the second part of the minister's push and his tenets was about separated, being separated, being separate, and colonizing or moving out into our own space, as it may, So there's people who couldn't get behind that. And that's fine. Not everybody has to jump on that bandwagon. Not everybody has to be a part of that push and understand the reason and the need for that. But everybody does need to make some kind of change in their community to make their community better, right? Because we all know that all of our communities are all screwed up. We got too much crime. We have too much poverty. We have too much apathy. Too much ignorance. We have too much of a lot of negative things in our communities that has to be changed. And so, that change starts with the people who know better and who can do better and that can pass that on to the rest of the community. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to mobilize us. The Black Lives Matter thing, I don't know what the initial platform and agenda was supposed to be from a big picture standpoint, but the basics of it is like, look, something has to be done about this one particular thing and this one particular issue, and it's a huge issue for us as a people, and it was really, kind of painted in a bad picture early on with, without any responsibility being put back on the media, and anybody else was trying to paint that bad picture, mainly a lot of the Republicans and stuff. But basically, I think that their initial goal was a good mobilization to say we need to get people to understand that we are being attacked as a people. We are being punished as a people for our skin color and for somebody else's insecurities, and that has to stop, right? So another huge push, big public push, and all of the protests and all of the push for change, we needed that, right? And I think that going back to your question, in 2018, I believe that if Bobby Seale, Huey Newton, Cleaver, Davis, all those people, if all those people, I think, who was the other lady, Elaine Brown, if all those people were able to still affect the change that they were affecting back then across time and say, hey, let's refine this organization, let's rein it in and structure it even tighter, I think we'd see a bigger presence in our communities that would have probably averted some of the things that we've gone through over the last 10 or 15 years. I think we would see probably more of a concerted effort to do more across the community, without us having to wait for a Mike Brown to get murdered or Trayvon Martin to get murdered. I think it would have been these structures and these organizations would have been there at the forefront already to say, hey, there's a problem. Would it have happened? I don't believe so, because I believe that the government would have done just what they did do. No matter what, the government didn't want, especially at that time, the government didn't want to be shown a fool, and they didn't want to be have black people come up and show their ass and be able to and show their ass, say the government's ass, to say, look, they're a problem and they're the issue here. They never once wanted that, and they still don't want it nowadays. This is why they paint these pictures across these organizations. No matter the organization.
I think that's the problem. First of all, let me give out the number if anybody want to call in. 657-383-1155. You can also hit us up on Twitter at GFT_radio. Instagram, GFT_radio. All right, to your question, I feel like, go back to what I said earlier, I feel like we can use them as a blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they had their time, because at the end of the day, I believe Bobby Seale's still alive, right? Angela Davis still alive.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like these some of these people are still alive that were back then. There's a lot of Black Panthers that are still alive from back then. You feel me? I feel like they gave us a blueprint. You feel me? We should learn.
81 years old.
Yeah, like we should learn from their mistakes and where they're fit and where they failed at. You know, and I believe, like Willie said, the one thing that I think will hold us back now is everybody has their own agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, you feel me? I be on YouTube, I be on all these sites looking at these people, you know, and a lot of these people have a Messiah complex. You feel me? They want to be the one. They want to be the leader instead of all of us having a common goal and common agenda, some tenets that we want to abide by, some things that we want to get done, and attack it. I think that's the problem. I think at this point in 2018, you know, we're not a monolithic people, first of all. So we all, I mean, that's one of the points Willie was making. Like, we all have different views on how things should get done.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? We all have different agendas, basically. So at the end of the day, the only way we can all come together is we have one common goal and one common agenda. And that's what we have to find. And then when we find that, how do we proceed?
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? See, the leaders, I feel like we can't have selfish leaders. And then as a people, we have to hold our leaders accountable. You know, I think we can't we can't deify our leaders. We have to realize and recognize that these are human beings, men and women, imperfect. You feel me? They're going to make mistakes. You know, we have to hold their feet to the fire. You know, in my mind, my only thing is I feel like most Black people, you know, we should start our own political party. I feel like we're too connected to the Democratic Party. You feel me? And they know it. You feel me? And we're not we don't hold their feet to the fire. Like, they already feel like they got our votes in the bag. You feel me? We're following their agenda
without having to earn it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without having to earn it. You see, and when you get to that point, now you take somebody for granted. That's like with any relationship. With any relationship, in your personal life and politically. If you feel like I already got it in your bag without having to earn it, you feel me? Like, we're operating from a point of weakness. You feel me? So now, at that point, they don't even have to fight their fight. They can use us to fight their fight for them, and then we're totally forgetting about us. You feel me? Like, hold on,
right,
hold on.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, hold on.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, we're pushing their agenda, but not taking care of our own.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So my thing is 2018, I feel like, you know, that's why I'm independent. I feel like Black people, the only way, you feel me? Like I said, I got really, you know what I mean? We all born and raised in a capitalistic society, so we all, in some way or another, got a capitalistic mindset. We all about our money. Mm-hmm. You feel me? So to look at how the Black, like, they were socialists. You feel me? They didn't think like that. You feel me? So my thing is, what will be our agenda? You feel me? How will we go about it? You know, but I feel like we need to separate ourselves from these political parties and create our own, and then that's when we can really use our power.
I mean, I definitely feel you on that, but I think even further. I think we have to have a couple of different, maybe even 3 different political parties structured around the improvement of black people, because I mean maybe 2, but it could be at least 3. I mean, because I look at it this way: there's people who truly want to be separate from
white America.
this basically that white America. They definitely want to be separate, and there's a huge group of people like that, and they just looking for the right kind of situation and leadership to make it happen. Will it ever happen? I don't know, because there's so much out there that makes that something that's going to be that's going to be trampled upon. People are going to push to stop that, but if people want what they want, people should be able to have what they want, right? Then you have people who want the prosperity of the capitalist society, but they want something better for our people as a whole, without having to be integrated completely with the agenda of basic America, right? There's a stark separation that comes with that, wanting to be a black entrepreneur or be, a true capitalist in this society, but you still want something better for your black community, and there's a couple other ideologies that are out there. So there's, like you said, there's got to be something more focused on our needs, and it doesn't even have to only be, because you're going to have people like this who are going to say it doesn't even have to only be black. It just has to be people who are impoverished, because the thing is like you said, there's the problem of we're taken for granted by the Democratic Party, and at this point most of the Democratic political leadership is just rich people, even though they may have some agendas, or they may have some points that may appeal to us as middle class or high poverty, but for the most part they still look out for who they look out for, right? And we need somebody who's really and truly trying to change things for impoverished people living in ghettos, people living in inner cities, things like that. We need people who are really, looking to make changes to bring these people up, get us jobs, get us, bring the industry in for these communities that are lacking. I mean, there's a lot that's involved in that, and there should be a political party that fits that mold, or at least a group of people who fits that mold. And I mean, I'm for one, I'm definitely down for getting rid of the political parties in general, as a staple when it comes to saying, if you're going to have an election, it's got to be Democrat or Republican, and it's got to be these 2 parties or these 3 parties. I think it needs to be banished and be done with, because that's not how democracy is supposed to work.
Exactly.
I wholeheartedly agree. Like, I just want to, I'm sitting here, even though I know I studied this in school, really I was racking my brain, like, what the hell is socialism again? And I'm looking it up, and it says, is a range of economic and social systems characterized by social ownership and worker self-management of the means of production, as well as the political theories and movements associated with them. So social ownership may refer to forms of public, collective, or cooperative ownership, or to citizen ownership of equity.
Yeah.
So
basically the people own the assets of the government versus the government distributed or selling it to the people.
Facts. That's exactly what it is. Which is good in theory. Good in theory. But like I always go back to the point that I always say, the majority of people not smart. That's a fact. Majority of people are ignorant. Like this, I mean, this is a fact. I've been ignorant. You feel me? Plenty of time. I'm ignorant about a whole lot of shit. I mean, like I ain't excluding myself. But as a whole, when it comes to, so it's hard. That's why I don't like everybody voting. That's one of my things.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? We talked about that on the show previously. Like, I feel like if you're not educated on a, you know what I mean, I've been in that voting booth ignorant as hell. I told that story quite a few times on here. So, you know, I know the harm that can be done. So,
Mm-hmm.
you feel me? I don't want a lot of just anybody, any old person having authority. You know what I mean? Like, it really has to be. And then when you go through a strict screening process, it's almost going to be exactly like having the government, you know, I mean, regulating it, even though a lot of people in the government are just as ignorant as common folk. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, but like, I agree with you, Willie. You know, I know a lot of people, like you said, who strictly, you know what I mean, separate. Let's separate. You feel me? You know, I don't want to deal with the white folks. Let's do our own thing. You know, almost they want to operate like how the Asians operate. You feel me? You don't hear the Asian people talk about voting. You don't hear Asian people talk about none of that stuff.
Yeah.
What's our favorite? What's our caller that usually call in? She was talking about that before.
It's not Sapphire, right?
Yep, Sapphire. That's the point. That's the point she was making before. Because I think we touched on this before. She was making that point. She was like, you never see Asians or so it's some people like that, you know. Then there's some black folk that, like I said, we're all not monolithic. So I can understand you saying having like 3 different parties. You feel me? Then there's some is like, all right, I want to be a part of this capitalism, but I want equal. You know, I wanted to be an equal playing field.
I want it to be fair. Exactly. I wanted to be fair.
I wanted to be fair.
Exactly.
You feel me? So, and then you have others, you know, that's like, you know, they more so, how can I put it? They more so, I want to say pro-black, but at the end of the day, well, not necessarily pro-black, like how you put it earlier. They more so just all the poor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right,
like
right,
you said
right.
earlier.
Yeah,
like you said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just, okay, you know, it ain't about color. It ain't about, it's more
about.
about.
Yeah, they're looking for the prosperity of the community of the impoverished people. You know, really bring in the assets to the people and saying, hey, we, you know, I mean, it may be partially socialist, it may be partially because there's people who still feel strongly that the government needs to take care of the people, right? Because the government should be at the service of the people, but the problem is how much at the service do you want the government to be, or how deep do you want the government to be involved, right? You know, because there's a line. You know, it's not fine, but there's still a line where the government could be involved in the fact of, you know, we'll provide the assets and the needs and give people what they need, but then there's the problem of if they get too involved in that, then they may start relegating what those needs are and relegating who gets what and who gets not, you know, and that's when it becomes an issue, right? You know, so there's a lot that has to be figured out in that regard, and that again all starts with laws, you know, proposals, things of that nature that say, you know, the government has to do this for the people, but then the government can't do this over here because then they get too involved, right? You know that's the thing, is that you have to have these separations, you know, and these limits, you know, limiting government, you know. I mean, and that's another reason why Latin Americans and mostly Mexicans align so much with Republicans, because technically the Republican Party is all about the limitation of government. They want the government help to be very limited. They want the government to keep their nose out of the common folks' business. They want, you know, to be able to manage themselves, right? You know, But then again, the problem that comes there is when there's no regulation, there's nobody being held accountable, and now these people can do whatever the hell they want at the expense of everybody else's detriment, right? So there's always this push-pull. You know what I mean? There's this push-pull, and I think organizations like the Black Panther Party, organizations like the Nation of Islam, organizations like I can't think of what it's called, the Color of Change. The organization, I mean, there's so many organizations out there right now that are effective and are trying to push different agendas, and but we need everybody to be doing something, because at some point there's something that's going to affect you that you're either going to want changed or that you're going to want pushed, because it's going to benefit you, your family, or your community, but you have to get involved to get it done. Because nothing else this country is going to teach you is that they're not going to really just hand it to you, unless you're rich, then they will. But other than that, they're not going to hand it to you.
Yeah, but I agree, and I also feel like it shouldn't, like, even if we couldn't have our own political, or if we didn't have our own political parties, it shouldn't be the main focus of just those two, because it kind of the people that's not educated enough or choose to be naive and don't choose to research things themselves, they don't understand that there's other parties that are not just Republican or Democrat.
You want to know black folk biggest problem? I apologize for it. You want to know black folk biggest problem? The reason why, like, we was talking about how the Black Panther Party gave the brothers and sisters at that time a certain amount of pride to be black and from the inner city, to love themselves. That's what, like, we have a huge issue with the lack of love of self right now in the black community. The black community is in the Civil War with each other, men and women, black men and women. Do you know? It's. I have seen people like, I can be promoting the black family. You know what I mean? The importance of black men being with black women and black women being with black men. Now, if you want, you could date whoever the hell you want to date. But just because I promote that, I will have black people, men and women, fighting on that. You understand?
Yeah.
You feel me? We have colorism issues within our own community. You know, we have deep-rooted issues that we need to. That's why I feel like we just need to focus on us for a minute. Get back to loving us, because if we can't love, like, all this stuff means nothing. You know what I mean? Just this empty conversations, because we're not going to follow through on anything because we don't believe in each other. You know, and that's the strongest. That's the reason why I feel like we haven't had that mass movement yet and sustain it. Because, like I said, it's easy. Me and my friend was having a conversation. I was like, it's easy to get motivated, but motivation only that's limited. You feel me? That's not going. So motivation ain't not going to keep you going. Habits are discipline. You feel me? And
true passion.
We have to change our habits.
True passion for something.
Yeah. What they call it? A definite purpose.
Yeah.
You feel me? When you have a definite purpose, then, you know what I mean, you will go through whatever you have to go through to accomplish it. And right now, I feel like black people don't have no definite purpose. You feel me? We just trying to follow whatever we can follow. Like, it's like we're blowing in the wind. And until we come together and love each other, love ourselves. First, you gotta love yourself individually. You feel me? I'm telling you, you see it every day. Like, the lack of love for self and our own community, then it spreads. It's like it's an infection. You know, that's why I try to tell my daughter every day. Now, I mean, I and my brothers and sisters, love yourself. You feel me? Love everything about you. Your flaws, everything. Now, I mean, don't let nobody tell you nothing wrong with being your race. Love your race. You know what I mean? Love everything. Because if not, all this stuff, you come up with all types of game plans. If you don't have a definite purpose and love for self, we're not going to follow through on nothing. You feel me? That's why.
True.
That's why it won't. We won't have that mass movement again unless we can get rid of that virus. Because that's what it is. It's a virus. It's a sickness in the community. So until we find a cure for that sickness of self-hate, you feel me? We're going to continue blowing in the wind. We're going to continue to be last.
Yeah.
Feel me?
True that. True that.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I remember we was talking about, and me and Willie was going back and forth, and they say the saying is, don't get mad, just improve your argument. And I was getting frustrated because I couldn't articulate what I was trying to say. When somebody won an award or something or whatever, and my point was,
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and basically, and it was real simple. I just couldn't articulate it because I was, I just couldn't. But it's just real simple. It's like, we can celebrate an individual accomplishment, but if that individual is not for us, you know what I mean? Like, if I know if Willie accomplished something, but I know Willie don't give a fuck about black people, why would I celebrate that? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You feel me? Just because he's black? Like, no, I need to know. Like, we see it every day, and these women, these black women, they be all in love with these, what's the guy? Michael B. Jordan. They all in love with him. Yeah. They find out he like white girls, and then it's, F him. Hey, it's like, well,
but
you
that
set yourself
was
up for
a whole misunderstanding, but they got really upset about it.
Yeah, but you set yourself up for that. And that comes from lack of self-love. Because if you love yourself, that shit wouldn't bother you.
Yeah.
You feel it'll bother you to an extent because, all right, well, if you really truly deeply believe, if you that militant and that all black people should just be with each other, if some people believe that if a black man or a black woman likes somebody outside their race, they hate themselves. That's not always the case. You feel me? But because you shouldn't generalize it like that. But some people believe that. I don't necessarily generalize it like that. You feel me? But most people that comes from a lack of self-love, because if them women really love themselves, love being black, that would not bother them.
Right. They wouldn't, like you said, they
wouldn't
care. It'd be like, oh well, it's lost.
Yeah, it's lost. Like, and keep it pushing. You feel me? Like, and then we put all our. Yeah, then we put all our like we're looking for a savior too. That's another thing. We're looking for this black Messiah.
I think that here's the problem. Half these top paid male black celebrities that we see are not married to white to black women, and they look for a sense of acceptance to say, oh yeah, he loves us, he's black and he loves us. Like, I get it, but you should love like you said, you should love yourself and not care, because you should feel like you're enough for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You should feel complete by yourself. And that's what I tell. Well, I don't tell people, but I feel like if you don't love yourself, why should anybody else love you? You know what I'm saying? And you shouldn't seek validation from somebody else to make yourself feel good. You should, if you don't feel good about yourself, you need to figure out what's going on with yourself. Because shouldn't the fact that if he didn't like black women, it shouldn't make you feel less than or feel some type of way. Or like I said, when I saw it, I was like, okay, not that big of a deal. Like, that's no surprise. But a lot of people took that to heart and felt some type of way about him. And like I felt like you, Clint, it wasn't that deep. But y'all be great and be mad. That man getting paid a good lump sum of money. He don't give a damn how y'all feel.
And my thing is, why? And this is what my issue with y'all with some of the topics. And I wish I would have called in. I don't know. I listened to the women's show, and I listened to when Dame and Willie called in. But this was one of my issues, and I told you that on the phone. I'm like, why do y'all care about what somebody said if that person stop seeking validation from somebody who doesn't want to validate.
No, it's not. But that wasn't. But I don't think that was that wasn't the issue. The issue was when you make a general statement about black women. Period. It doesn't like. It's not like that's like if I was to say something negative about and just be on a show and say all black men ain't shit. Like that's an issue. Like I can't that's when it's a problem.
Not an issue. That wouldn't. You know why that wouldn't be an issue for me? Because then I know you're not for me. You're not for me, so why should I care about your opinion? You know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? And what all these other women and men should do when they hear stuff like that? Go celebrate those who celebrate you. See, that's what we're missing because we always get caught. Because like you just said, which is a false narrative as well, that most black men or that's prominent date outside of race. That's not true because I can show you.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about all black women. I'm talking about the ones that we see in these movies and shows. Like a lot of these shows that these.
And I'm telling you, a lot of them. I can tell you, I can show a lot of other ones that's just as famous that date black women. Why don't? But see, the thing is, we don't celebrate them. We don't even mention them. You see that? That's the issue that gets me. Like we go straight to the things we have a problem with, but we don't celebrate the things that we love. Because if you love seeing a black man with a black woman so much, you would celebrate it. So you would promote that image instead of going straight to the negative image that you don't like and just simply dwell and talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
So if I tell you, man, I don't like light skinned women.
Oh, well, then get you too then.
Exactly. You feel me? Exactly. That's my point. That's exactly my point. Just forget me.
But you know what that problem is too, Clint, is that I think and Sonny, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's because there's an expectation, right? There's this level of expectation that when you see somebody that's either famous or highly popular and women are like, hey, he should be in this realm or he should be doing this or they should be doing that, the disappointment causes them to dwell on it. And the disappointment in it causes them to forget that, like you said, like they should just step back and say, you know what, they're lost, or throw your hands up and keep it moving. But it's that disappointment of knowing that, these people aren't living up to what you thought and what you expected. So now you take full, right. You take full offense to it. You take a full offense to it, and you feel like it's your duty now to say something about it. I remember there was some kind of documentary or some kind of statement was made about how what's his name? John Wayne was racist, right? And I mean, people, talking about black people, especially older black men, were just taken back, like they couldn't believe it. All this time that was their hero. They loved him some John Wayne because what he represented in the movie was one thing, right? And that happens nowadays. I think we talked about that when we talked about listening to actors and musicians and things like that and their political views. Is that you have this expectation of people. I mean, we could definitely talk about that all day with Kanye West. Is that you have this expectation of people and this expectation of what you believe they should do and how you believe they should stand and how you believe they should feel. And when they don't live up to that expectation, you get personally hurt because you've attached yourself to this image of what you thought this person was. And unfortunately, it's this familiarity that you have with this image that they've portrayed all this time, which is not the case. Like Sonny was saying, and this is my evidence. She was mentioning how these guys are in these TV shows and they're in these movies and they're pushing these black love and they're they got black wives and black girlfriends on these in these publicly seen situations. Movies and entertainment and stuff, but then when it comes to their real life, they on the other side. They got white wives and white girlfriends, and all they date is white, and they don't even like black women. So it's it's that audacity to go against the image that they've built up and this portrayal that they've built up around themselves that people can't believe. It's like, oh my God, you know, I'm so heartbroken because you're not what I thought you were, you know.
It's not that serious because they were like quoting, they were quoting some of Michael B's quotes in the Black Panther, and they were like you know, they went like they was just like using his quotes against him, and it was like it's not like it shouldn't be that serious. Like I said, I may be wrong, but I just don't like when people make general statements. Period. Like especially when it involves a whole group. It's one thing to say some or you know a few or blah blah blah, but when you say something that basically can degrade a whole group of people that you don't like, you just lumping everybody in above like how they did when I said we did on the past show. They were talking about the shooting that art all night. They went and said Trenton ain't shit. Like first of all, not everybody from Trenton ain't shit. There's a couple people from Trenton that ain't shit, but it's not all of us, you know. And shit like this happens everywhere. It's not just Trenton. So we're not, you know, so like that. So just like those things bother me, and like maybe I'm wrong for you know how I express it, but I just don't like that. Like I don't like to be having or have conversations with people where they're gonna group everyone in. And I know I find myself with friends, and when we have conversations like just regular, and they start saying like general statements, I kind of like break it down like, well, no, we're not about to do that. So not everybody's like that, you know. Like maybe the people that you dealing with is crazy, or you know, but you can't say all these people are this type of thing. Like at some point, if it's two people, if it's two or more, it's probably you, and you need to figure it out. But you know what I'm saying? Like exactly. I just have an issue with that. So that's why I feel so passionate about it. And that's why anytime and I'm in a situation that rubs me the wrong way, and for me, it's like a combat thing. Like what? Switch on. What did you say? Let's go back to this. You know.
But you
and
know
I go sometimes too, and I have to catch myself too.
Sometimes you gotta learn to pick your battle. That's what I learned. Sometimes you gotta learn to pick your battle.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I realize when people generalize like that, especially negatively, you feel me, that reflects more on them than me or than anybody else, because that shows how closed-minded, how narrow-minded they are. And then back to like what Willie's point was making, like how you see these dudes on these shows promoting one thing, and then in real life they not well. Like I always say, I mentioned it here before, that Joe Button lyric. You feel me? The problem is you'll be disappointed by putting somebody on a pedestal they didn't earn.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
Yep. Exactly.
You feel me? And he also what he also said. He said, if you put me on a pedestal, be prepared for a long fall. You feel me? Be prepared for my long fall. Like don't do that. Don't do that to me, and don't do that to yourself. You feel me? We don't know these people. we don't know these people at all. So just because they're actors or just because they're famous, like let's stop having these expectations of what we want them to be or what they should be. Like that's not reality. That's just not reality.
Right.
Well, we got to wrap this show, guys, because we got less than a minute. We went ham.
You know what it is.
Thank y'all for joining us tonight.
Great show.
Definitely great show. Y'all know y'all can hit me up on my blog site, kingstruth.com, Twitter @eTrentonGroomy, KingsTruth609 on Instagram, KingsTruth on Snapchat.
It's your boy Willie Styles. You can get at me at Willie Styles everywhere. WillieStyles.info for most of my links. Make sure you check out StylesRadio.com, StylesRadio, for all my new music and all the new music that I'm listening to, all my playlists and all that good stuff. Hit me up.
And of course, it's your girl Sunny. I am Sunny_D. Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Check me on my blog, unreservedlyme.com. Thank you guys for listening tonight.
And don't forget to get to that at GFT_radio on IG, Twitter, Facebook. We're everywhere.
Bye.
You've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, my family's going to a concert in the park, and we want our style to be the main attraction.
Rock over to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, right now get up to 50% off jeans from $15 for adults, $10 for kids at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
Up to 50% off jeans for the family? That's music to my ears.
Plus, now you can get in and out of the store in a flash with buy online, pick up in store. It's fun, fast, and free.
Styles that take center stage and free pickup in store when I buy online? Old Navy, here we come.
High fashion, Old Navy. Valid 7/20 to 7/29. Select styles only. You've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, my family's going to a concert in the park, and we want our style to be the main attraction.
Rock over to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, right now get up to 50% off jeans from $15 for adults, $10 for kids at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
Up to 50% off jeans for the family? That's music to my ears.
Plus, now you can get in and out of the store in a flash with buy online.